Showtime.
Dynamite download.
Dynamite download, your home for all positive coverage with all elite wrestling.
Oh, you guys, positive energy.
This reality, like, it is me. Like,
who let this guy in here?
This is what pro wrestling's supposed to feel like.
I'm saying I have a better record than Kenny Omega and Samoa Joe, and now I'm going to have to wrestle them.
I've never seen someone able to break down like wrestling like he does.
I said, Mariah May, she said, who?
Because I'm so driven. And I'm so moved to like what I want to do.
Versus Brian Keith match. It's awesome.
Oh, it's so cool. You got like these creepy ass dudes.
Oldest ride, longest line.
I was like deep diving into like cults.
My real story does connect with a lot of people.
I never say never about anything.
Yeah. Back to do an interview with those guys. You know why? Because they spread positivity about AEW.
Welcome to Dynamite Download.
Woo!
What's up, everybody? How you doing? SPD is no longer Hollywood SPD. He's back to his beloved baby face. And Mind Runner is a trooper. He is the Iron Man right now, recovering from a little sickness. But rain or shine, sick or healthy, he's here. Backbone of DD right now. Living large. Where's the towel, bud? I see the scarf.
I had to use the towel for reasons I will not get into.
It's all right.
Not the way some people are thinking.
Well, thank you for those of you TMI. It's okay, no worries here at Dynamite Download. Joining us here at Dynamite Download, episode 116 episodes on Dynamite Download's catalog. We are back, and we are excited because it is the final road to Revolution. We have Rampage tomorrow night, Collision Saturday, and of course Revolution on Sunday. Sting's last match, a lot of implications going on, and we'll talk a little bit about the show itself, the pay-per-view coming up itself, as well as we're going to dive into Dynamite. But Saturday night, post-Collision, live on YouTube here, Dynamite Downloads AEW Revolution preview show. The Dukes are going to throw in their bingo card picks. And speaking of bingo card picks, let's talk about the current standings, which ends after Revolution. So,
kick a man while he's down.
I mean,
well, I don't get comfortable, though. Anything can happen, as you know. I'm only 5 points behind you right now, which is going into Revolution. It's smoking hot. Anything can happen with Cray and FTD, but I think it's really a two-horse race at this point. I think you'd said the same thing, but don't count my boys out, my girls, because anything can happen. And let's see where, before we start feeling comfortable about anything, let's see where we are post-Collision. I know there's some Collision spoilers out there. I don't like spoilers.
We watch everything live. We don't know what's the dirt sheets and all that here. That's why we're going to be live reacting to Collision once we get back on air here for our Revolution preview show. But I mean, as I've humbly bragged with our standings here, SPD has made quite the comeback, and down from, I think it was 13 or 16 points at one point, and now with a comfortable maybe a comfortable 5-point lead at this moment. But we still got lots of wrestling. You got to stack Collision, stack Rampage, and of course Revolution, which typically all the pay-per-views, including pre-show stuff, you're looking at 9 to 12 matches there. So anything can happen. It is still SPD Mind Runner just battling out at the top. But speaking of battles, let's talk about last night's show, AEW Dynamite, Sting's final Dynamite, which to me, man, it just feels like it creeped up so fast on us. I know they announced it I think it was maybe 4 or 6 months ago, something like that. But it just really creeped up. And obviously all good things got to come to an end, and you can only, burn the candles for so long, but it almost still feels like there's stuff left in the tank. And, obviously you don't want to burn it all the way dry before you hang up the laces, as certain other wrestlers that maybe we have seen. But Sting seems like he's going to go out on his terms, on top, or with his back pinned, either way. But overall, with a great story that he was able to complete here in AEW. Fantastic stuff.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like there is stuff left in the tank, at least from a storyline standpoint. And of course, we don't know behind the scenes, like the dude's in his 60s. What is he doing? Like how long does it take him to recover from falling into a table? I mean, he may have had, there's probably a lot of recovery time, but I feel like there was a lot more that wish there was a lot more of acknowledging his past, like weekly, like having a segment dedicated to something. Would have been cool if Nicholas and Matthew Jackson like brought in the Shockmaster or something, just to kind of, because he was one of the tag team partners for the Shockmaster for that legendary thing. Maybe a little bit more of Joker Sting would have been cool.
What the Jacksons did on Dynamite last night, I think they should have started weeks ago. And
yes.
So you could have been chasing it more and then doing the callbacks every single week. So it's kind of just like full circle, like with the, that's another win for social media, is immediately being able to post why, the whole callback to the bats hanging in the locker room. And then obviously the whole callback dropping from the rafters and all these things. Like Sting has been around for so long and has such an iconic career, no pun intended, the icon Sting. It would have been, to me, stretched out a little bit more to do weekly stuff where the Young Bucks are really trying to get at him. And, maybe Sting doesn't appear, but he's haunting him, in certain ways like that, predicting his moves one step ahead.
I think you're right. I think that's tremendous. And rumor has it that backstage recently, I guess Tony Khan had a press conference today, and he mentioned that Sting joked that you never know, I might come back and put a headset on. So it's a possibility we might get a Sting commentary run here a little bit, maybe if not full time.
Do you think, not to go too much into Sting, but what do you think Sting's next role is in AEW right now?
I definitely see him not like just completely leaving AEW because they did right by him. I think he sees himself as a great mentor. I see him being much more of a coach behind the scenes. I do see him, like, not just with Darby, but with so many others, just being that kind of a mentor and like a learning tree. There are so many learning trees with AEW. I mean, a lot of times we get sometimes we get frustrated or something where we see, like, the older guys with the wrestling the younger guys and quote unquote burying them, but they're not really. When a Jericho wrestles a Daniel Garcia, he's getting when Jericho wrestles a Daniel Garcia, he's getting the rub. He's on the screen, and that, I think that's important. And I think a lot of what AEW is doing is they're really making the use of their veterans and mixing them with their new blood, so that in 10 years, in 15 years, we're going to be seeing like the Sammy Guevaras and the Daniel Garcias and the Darby Allins. We're going to be seeing them as the senior wrestlers guiding the next generation. Heck, even Nick Wayne is going to be a veteran at that point.
Yeah, there's a weird thing that I saw online, something about of what year Sting was born in, and then also Nick Wayne born in 2005, which is just crazy to think about, and who he's wrestled with that. So, to shift gears to Swerve, I want to talk about the kickoff of the show. As we're setting up the world title match, we had Hangman, a lot of rumblings going around the internet, videos surfacing, and it's another one of those true professional, as people have been saying online too, how Hangman is just a true professional, being able to sell the storyline, sell an injury, and then come out. And I don't know if necessarily maybe this was the ultimate plan to play it this way, or if they kind of pivoted with the heavy social media spies, the detectives. That's, you notice, like, on social media, everyone dissects every little thing. So if Hangman did kind of have, let's say, a stinger on the ankle and he was holding it, or if this was a plan all along to kind of hype it up even more, either way, the result of it was really fantastic. And we're seeing, the culmination of heel Hangman and obviously Swerve babyface, which has been happening for a long time. So I think that's a good trade-off. Flipping the script with heel Hangman, I think it'll be a fun change of pace for him to be a heel with that nice mustache and everything. And he's leaning into the heel vibes. Weeks before it was kind of like two baby faces going at it, but now I think Hangman is really leaning into those heel vibes, as passionate as he is on the stick. But Swerve is just naturally going to be babyface just because of everything going on.
Yeah.
But what do you think of Hangman Swerve?
I think this is such a great the chemistry between the three of these guys, because nobody really is the heel and nobody really is the baby face. I mean, you could even argue like Hangman's not really a heel. He's just gone desperate. I mean, he's doing heelish things, but it's kind of like, is MJF a baby face when he's doing baby face things, but still your scumbag? It's like
True.
Hangman he's become desperate and obsessed. He's kind of like that the guy the guy that was supposed to be the chosen one, and now this other guy shows up and is taking his place, and he's flipping out about it. I think this the whole thing, he's flipped out. I mean, what you can say whether he's a heel or not, I think it's tremendous.
Right.
The mustache is great. Also, props to Swerve for really selling this and really just
he was out
like just completely just buying into, and he even put Hangman over. He's like, we went to battle and all this, and like there's like a glimmer of respect, and he admitted, hey, I did some heelish things, you've done some heelish things, but here we are. And then Samoa Joe is like, Dad comes home from work, and he's like, I'm gonna smack both of you. It's like both y'all are grounded.
Good point.
I'm gonna smack both y'all in this thing. So
it was a good way to start the show with a lot of, they kept leaning into what's going to happen. And obviously this is your world title, so it's a very important feud and an important thing to address. So they addressed it great, and it got me even more excited for this match. And, I don't see Samoa Joe losing any time. For a little bit, I was like kind of getting excited. I'm like, wait, are they going to mend their differences and kind of like respect each other when Swerve was saying those things? But of course, then you have the Hangman stabbing him in the back and Samoa Joe kind of, breaking up the party. And so one day, if they ever do tag together, I think it would be an interesting tag team for sure. Pretty dominant one. I mean, we saw what Hangman did with Kenny Omega, but that's not in the cards. I mean, I say it time and time again, and I'll say it every single week if I have to. Swerve is going to be the next champion, and his time will be in the biggest spotlight ever at All In, and the guy deserves it. And like he said in his promo, going from unemployed to changing lives and changing companies. And so I felt like that part of his promo really hit strong, and I can't wait for him to get that spotlight and that extreme accomplishment at Wembley. I think that's it. I think that's the way you book it.
I think it'd be interesting if Swerve has the strap going into Wembley. Do you make his opponent Will Ospreay?
That's an interesting thing to predict. As we saw another promo, which this Dynamite was filled with awesome promos, in my opinion. We only had 4 matches, which is kind of odd for Dynamite, but we had great promos and kind of a nice stories developing, which was fun. But I think naturally, as much as if you follow Ospreay outside of AEW, kind of leaning more heel tendencies, but here in AEW, you can tell his excitement level is like there, and he loves being here, and the fans are just going to eat him up, because I completely agree. I think this is probably the biggest free agent signing that AEW has had to date, because of the youth he has, because of the talent level he has, and because of the game-changing persona that Ospreay has that can carry a company. When you have people like Jericho and Omega, still stuff in the tank, but more, let's say more on the downward slope of their career, where Ospreay is still on the upward slope of his career. And it's crazy to think like we're still going to get the best matches of his career here in AEW, which is wild, because I fell in love with him when I first saw him at the Forbidden Doors and all this. And then ever since then, I'm like, man, this guy is a superstar. This guy's a superstar. This guy's got it all. He's absolutely insane. puts on 5-star matches every single time. So I can't wait. I think the match at Revolution with Takesha is going to be the best match of the night, hands down. I think it's going to be overall the best match of the night, wrestling wise.
Yes, that's what I say. Wrestling wise, it would be.
Yeah,
wrestling
wise.
Now, well, but what
storyline will be other ones, but I almost don't. I don't want Ospreay and okay, if you don't give Swerve the strap at Wembley, you have to give it to Ospreay. I think you either go give Ospreay a match of his dreams. Let's say Kenny Omega 4. Whatever, him versus Kenny Omega, which would tear down the place and deliver. And then that way you have that match that's just going to be fantastic. And then you have Swerve versus Samoa Joe, and those are 2 top tier matches at a pay-per-view that would sell out, period. And so if you did Ospreay versus a healthy Kenny Omega, that means Ospreay could beat Jericho and Kenny Omega back to back in Wembley. And I think that alone is an awesome notch on his belt.
Yeah, I agree. I remark at how giddy Will Ospreay was when he came to the ring last night. And
you're right.
In the candy store. He reminded me of how Adam Copeland was when he showed up at AEW. And even to this day, like Adam Copeland is still just, every time he talks AEW, he's just like so excited. And I love the excitement. Will Ospreay, it's like he's finally, like he really feels like he's home. I think he's super excited of what he's going to do. I thought it was interesting the way he was reacting to Don Callis.
Oh, he's turning on them for sure at Revolution.
Totally, and I think we're going to see that play out at Revolution. So, in one way or the other,
he is definitely turning on them sooner than later, which is it's given. You need to establish this red hot baby face. I think you need to push it, and it's needed. Yes, Swerve is there or almost all the way there, red hot baby face, but like Ospreay, like it's good to have those multiple ones. And then Don Callis, clearly gets so much heat. Christian Cage gets so much heat. Samoa Joe could lean into more heat. As much as we love him as fans, no matter what he can do no wrong in our eyes because we love to cheer him. But I think that's a great first feud to run through the Don Callis family. Now, that being said, it would be interesting if the Aussie Open reunites. Let's say Ospreay wins and Hobbs comes in and starts beating him down. Kyle Fletcher comes out and he's torn and then teams up. And then you have the return of
Davis.
Yeah. So then you have like this awesome feel good moment where the Aussie Open is there. And then maybe Don Callis recruits a third member since Sammy Guevara isn't on there. And then you have this feud between Don Callis family and Aussie Open. So I think that would make for some great matches. Currently.
I feel bad for Mel Coleman. She made this great painting of the Last Supper with
they still
Don
use
Callis
it.
Family, but she keeps having to change the faces of everybody on there. She's like, wait, they're not in the Callis family? She has to erase. At least it's digital art, so she shouldn't have to.
I was gonna say, if it's not digital art, she's just making more and more for commission pieces every time.
Right?
So there you go. She's keeping her employed on that. So I would love for a swerve of the feud with that, the three versus three there. At least give him something to go through. But there's so many other things like intertwined. Like you have, obviously, I feel like the chapter with Sammy Guevara is closed, but I don't know if it's closed with Chris Jericho because who knows what's going to happen in that 8-man scramble. You have different feuds intertwined. You have a lot of meat in there. I would love to see Brian Cage and Lance Archer go, face to face as we talked about for over and over. Then you have Jericho and Hobbs kind of talking, or you going face to face. Wardlow is going to clean house, Mr. Revolution Wardlow, who's had historic revolution after revolution. And I think we're going to see another historic night with him being victorious on there, which would be awesome. Mr. Revolution himself, but a lot in store. We'll save some Revolution chat to our show on Saturday night.
Yes,
but
Saturday.
What segment? So I want to talk about this match because this is a culmination of a lot of things. Blackpool Combat Club and FTR and Eddie Kingston. So what I love is I'm really stoked that AEW quickly pivoted with FTR and kept them relevant as the top guys that they are, from a House of Black to a BCC feud. I mean, that's going from A+ to A+ right away, immediately. You know, how often do we see feuds end and it's just kind of like, where are they at now? And this was like an immediate one. And so they just had an absolute brutal feud, FTR with the House of Black, and then immediately Blackpool Combat Club, another brutal feud that has been really physical on both teams. That's going to come to a head at Revolution with the tag match, and then Danielson and Eddie Kingston. So in typical pre-show booking, you have, obviously we saw Danielson take the pin over Eddie Kingston, so it almost feels like the other team's going to win at Revolution. You kind of trade wins leading up to that. But I like the pairing. I've always liked the pairing with Eddie Kingston and FTR. I think it fits them. You know, almost the no flips, just fists, kind of just hard action.
Yeah.
And the chemistry was there with that, you know, doing all the chops in the corners together.
Yeah. That was
very
great.
Similar, very similar offense. And so, what'd you take of this match? And
it's every bit as awesome as you thought it was going to be, and then some. Like that spot where the three of them are all doing the machine gun chops in the corner. BCC these are guys that just, you know, you throw them. You could tell them in 5 minutes, hey, can you guys just run out there and have a match? And they're like, sure, and put on.
They're not even saying anything, right?
And they'll just, like Moxley, Claudio, and you know that like they're like off, like non-kayfabe. These guys, for the most part, like each other. I don't know about Eddie and Brian Danielson, but they all played their role perfectly too.
Yeah.
What I love about these teams where Eddie's on one team and Mox is on the other is they don't lock up until towards the end. They get that, there was that moment where they were like, okay, oh, you're coming for me now too. And there was that moment where it was Mox and Eddie towards the end, and then it was just brutal. I thought that Danielson played a great heel. He was just really rubbing stuff in. There's a spot where Dax was, it was after the match, Dax was just staring laser beams through Claudio. Like, it was like, I think it was Claudio. He was sitting on the apron, and just, you could tell that this is not over by any means. And, you know, who knows how Revolution's going to end, but I'd love to see this going on. And this is what I love about factions is you could do exactly what you said earlier is as you're closing down one feud, you can start to breadcrumb another one and start a new feud by having one of those matches where, you know, oh, they just happen to show up when Claudio's having a match. And then I think that's tremendous. And I think that's one of the things I really like is when you really breadcrumb some of these matches. And I'm a big proponent of storytelling, but in some cases, the storytelling that happens in the ring is where you can really tell it. And I feel like there's some great storytelling done in this match, in this ring, and it's going to be really cool to see where this goes next.
You're right on that. And, you know, as you were talking about that, I didn't realize, I think it blended to me. It just kind of got lost in transition that how Eddie Kingston has had crazy feuds with Claudio, Mox, and Danielson.
Yep.
So that makes sense there. But FTR, these guys just continue to amaze me week in and week out. I mean, they're top guys for a reason. They do some amazing stuff.
We got to give Cash Wheeler his flowers. Like, I know that Dax tends to get a lot of I feel like Dax gets a lot more spotlight than Cash when it comes to FDR because he's done a lot of singles as well. But Cash was going crazy. I think it's interesting too that there seems to be a storyline going where whenever Cash tries to do something besides no flips, just fits, when he tries to do some aerial, that's when things start to go wrong. Like it's almost like, and I almost think that's like it's like a temptation when he panics and tries to do something flippy. That's when things go wrong for FDR.
That's funny you say that because I remember seeing like a few months ago. It's like anytime that FTR wins or something like a big match happens, you see Cash go off the top rope or something like that. Something like that along the stat there. I'm excited for this. Both matches are going to be absolutely brutal. and Danielson's been doing some awesome work with the promo work and just calling, planting those seeds, calling Eddie Kingston a bum, and so the Ultimates thing. I would love Danielson to finally get some gold in AEW. I mean, we'll talk about that on our show, but it's just like, if not now, when? Like, when is Danielson? If this is kind of like the last hurrah or this kind of last full-time year of Danielson, give him something. I know he's going to be wrestling all over the world and stuff, but I don't know. It'll be interesting how they book that match to me as well. But it's a hot feud, and that means it's going to be a hot take time for Mind Runner.
Yeah. All right. This is the best I could do for my hot take. I've got COVID. Yeah, there's my
unfortunate hot take there.
Yeah.
Sorry to hear that, but like we mentioned early in the show, man, I appreciate you jumping on still, just and locking it down with us so we could chat wrestling. Hopefully, it'll be a little pick me up on that. But
it is. I mean, it actually is a highlight, and I am feeling better. My fever broke this morning. I'm taking this stuff they gave me that makes my everything taste like I'm licking the side of a metal trash compactor. But other than that, it's I'm bummed because we were supposed to be at Revolution. Full Tilt Deb and I and my buddy Nacho, me and Shane, we were supposed to be at Revolution up in the rafters with Sting. But we had nosebleed seats, but I figured we'd be at least up there with Sting. But yeah, man, stinks, but it is what it is. But we'll be watching on pay-per-view at home with my blankie and a bunch of tissues. But
yeah, it is. It's unfortunate. If work didn't happen for me, I would have been there too. So I guess everything happens for a reason. I would have been sitting there with my Dynamite download sign all alone in the rafters as well, cheering on. I would have kept going, but maybe something that'll cheer you up. 2 members of Team Mind Runner going toe to toe, Sky Blue and Chris Statlander.
Yes.
I know you're a big proponent of the women's division. What did you think of the going in the way this thing ended, and what do you think is going to lead up to, or what do you think is going to happen after this?
Well, at first, a nitpick is I'm a little bit concerned that we've only got one women's match, and I understand Julia Hart injured, so there's no TBS title thing. But
she is injured. I didn't know that.
There is an injury. She's working, but there could have been at least a number one contenders match or something like that they could have done for something could have been done. But I've got positive vibes or optimism that this new lady Peppercorn or Pepperjack, whatever her name is, that she's going to be helping not just the women's division, but I think in general with all matches, building storylines. She's a creative from WWE that she's really close to Mercedes Moné.
Yeah.
And I think she's going to be really, really good. I think this match, I got to admit, I think Sky Blue has improved a lot in the ring. And I think that there's, I think it's interesting the dynamic that's going on between Chris Statlander, Willow, and Stokely. Stokely's trying to get Statlander to cheat. I don't know if we're going to see heel Statlander or not, but I think there's something developing there, and it's going to be interesting to see how that goes.
I don't know if I'm ready for Statlander to turn heel, and to me, I didn't get that much vibes on that, but I think I want to continue that partnership with Willow and Stat, like we've talked about. We still haven't finished our championship women's tag team title tournament, which we could do on Saturday's preview show. It can kind of be like our kickoff if we want to finish it there, so it's done. Yeah. But I think I would love for them to lean into the tag division. And so I think that is one of the first teams that come to mind. And I think I like the pairing of those two powerhouses together. But you're right. I agree with you. I think Sky Blue has really shown some great improvements in the ring. I think she was doing some really good stuff in the ring. And the storytelling with the match and the way she won was very interesting. And I really enjoyed this match, this back and forth match. And as you see in that photo to the right of Sky Blue, that is some fresh ink on her shoulder that she got. So she's adding even more to her character development on that. So this tells me, I don't know if Hart is hurt, but this does tell me that we're hinting towards another women's match at the pay-per-view. If there's no other storyline currently that I see that I could book another women's pay-per-view match that's pay-per-view quality, other than what's going on with these four. So yes, I would love Thunder Rosa on the card, which she absolutely deserves because she's a superstar, especially after all those promo. But I don't know. I don't want some match just thrown together. Personally, I want to see some storyline development on that. So this would be the one that I'd want to see, whether it be Willow versus Blue or Hart if she can, or a tag team match as well, or let's just say, like you said, a number one contenders match potentially too.
I think so. And I know a lot of us in the chat are, and I'm in agreement. I think we're all in agreement that we want Thunder much more prominent. And I think they're working on that. Those of you that tuned into our chat, Courtney and I chatted with Thunder Rosa and Izzy for the Mission Pro highlights. And we got to find out, and of course we blame Courtney for this, for influencing Thunder. But Thunder kind of turned heel at the Mission Pro wrestling event. And it was interesting to see a heel Thunder Rosa in action as an actual heel. And I've noticed with Thunder's matches lately, she's becoming increasingly not bitter, but she's playing like hey, don't forget about me. This is my house, like my house kind of thing. So I'm wondering if we're building up to if we could be building up to a Thunder Rosa like heel turn. But the problem is if Thunder Rosa is going to go heel, then you're going to need a baby face holding the title to go after a title. I think, and what I actually think would be tremendous is if Toni Storm drops the belt to Deonna Purrazzo, and then Deonna Purrazzo's next opponent is a heel Thunder Rosa.
Okay.
Which I think would be pretty interesting. But I think we'll have to see. What I'm also surprised that, I mean, for all the amount of attention that they gave the Saraya and Ruby Soho mess, like why we're not seeing any kind of blow off.
Right. That's true. You could have a Saraya versus Ruby match.
Or Harley Cameron or something like that.
That's a good point. Or you could do like a 4-way match for the number one contender.
Yeah.
A TBS title 4-way match. You could throw
Willow and Statlander. Put Willow and Statlander, forcing them to go against each other. Yeah. And then Stokely Stokely helps Statlander and doesn't help.
Right.
That would be interesting. Is if you have a number one contender match and Stokely hits Willow and helps Statlander get the pin, and Statlander doesn't realize it and drives a wedge or something. I don't know. There's something there.
Yeah, I like that match. I like that idea. That way it gives us more storyline looking forward to, because you have the scramble match, which the winner gets a future title shot. And then if you have this number one contender match, then that gives a future title shot. Mm-hmm. So it's giving you storylines to do that as well. We'll see. Well, hopefully we'll find out tomorrow after Rampage, or we'll find out after Collision, and just in time for our preview show. I want to talk about Sting's final Dynamite. So as we are, this was advertised a lot. It's weird to say Sting's final Dynamite. It's weird to see. I know he's not necessarily been, the main focus of AEW, but he's been a pivotal part of AEW with the partnership with Darby Allin since his debut here in AEW. So the way that the Young Bucks trolled him all show, as I mentioned earlier, was fantastic from start of the show to the end. The way this thing came out, the way that Ric Flair swerved us as well. I think it was just a perfect nightcap way to end the show. We got some callbacks. We got Sting coming out on top, and then it's getting us even more excited for the match. That being said, like I'm gonna, reiterate what I said earlier. I wish there was like 1 or 2 more weeks of this kind of build. I wish he did this 2 weeks ago, getting us more and more excited. Then next week he did something else. Like, I mean, coming from the Raptors, I guess is a big shtick. You could have I get that. That's kind of the last thing, but I want more. I wanted more build. Selfishly, I wanted more of this, but I think that this was a perfect ending of Dynamite. And to me, do you think this is the main event?
Yeah, I think it is. It's got to be, because this is the go home farewell. This is because you're going to want to have Sting. You're going to want to have Sting out there at the end of the show to get his flowers. You're going to want that emotional moment.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing: if it's not the main event, how do you go on after that? How do you go on after this emotional goodbye to Sting? And then now Orange Cassidy's going to wrestle Roderick Strong? No. You're going to have the the triple threat would be good. I think that you got to have this be the final match, because it's got to be that and it is a title match. It's not like it's not a title match. So it definitely fits the main event. I'm with you, though. I really wish they could have done more, stretch this out longer, or started the Young Bucks thing earlier. It would have been interesting if the Young Bucks, Nicholas and Matthew, just flat out stripped Ricky and Big Bill of the titles, and just like stripped them and gave it to themselves, and then have a little feud there, and then walk around with the belts, and then that Sting and Darby win the belts at Revolution.
That would have been funny. Use their EVP powers.
Yeah, and it's almost like Sting and Darby they're going for the belts, not for the titles themselves, but to get them out of the clutches of the EVPs.
Yeah,
kind of thing. But it is what it is. We're getting it's like ordering a pizza and then complaining that you didn't get breadsticks also. I think we're gonna have an awesome. It's gonna be an awesome.
Hungry.
Dude, you have no idea.
Well, you talk about, so, in the chat, I saw early on while we were doing our intro, do you think we're going to see a different Sting that we've seen in AEW? We've seen Joker Sting, we've seen this side of Sting, but do you think for his last hurrah, we're going to see a different Sting?
I almost think that it'd be cool if he did a half and half.
Right.
Like if he had half his face Surfer Sting and the other half the Sting we see now.
The Crow Sting.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see. See, I think it would have been cool to have a week dedicated to each one of these Stings.
Yeah, I agree. That would have been great.
And then have RoboCop come out for one of them.
What if he comes out with blonde hair?
That would be tremendous. Actually, it would be cool as if his sons came out. One of them is dressed as Surfer Sting, and then one is the red NWO Sting or something. Yeah. I don't know. They're going to plan something cool.
TK always does it right.
All right, I gotta say it. I think a lot of us are thinking it, and I mean no disrespect. Regardless of how you feel about the man, I know some people are funny about how he was on that one flight. He is a legendary icon in wrestling, but I think it's time for Ric Flair to stay out of the ring.
I respectfully agree.
Yeah. And I say it with the
there's no point in me. I think Ric Flair is one of the GOATs in wrestling, period. And that's non-negotiable for anybody, really. Total package. But at some point you don't want to see the struggle. I saw videos of other wrestlers in indies trying to just hold on to it, and I get it, like that's your life, and I totally get it. Like, I play hockey, and I'm going to try to play hockey as long as I possibly can, even if I have to like crawl out there. But at some point you got to look at yourself and just, it's risk versus reward, and what are you gaining from it? I think no more. I don't want to see, because unfortunately, when we saw the show in Jacksonville, it was like very kind of tough to watch as a fan.
Yeah.
You don't want to see one of your favorite wrestlers literally struggle to get in and out of the ring and throw these punches that are, not the best. That being said, I think the camera team and the production team played it really well to kind of protect themselves versus other ones that I've seen. So, and the Young Bucks, of course, expert pros that they are, they did a great job selling. So last night, I can accept it for storytelling purposes because of what we saw with Flair going in the room and having the meeting and all that happening. It was minimal. But from now on, I think that's it. I mean, you cannot have another interference. You can't have anything like that. Come in, raise Sting's hand, whatever it may be. But I think I'm trying to be as respectful as possible, as you said. But yeah, I think as fans, we don't need to see that. I don't think it benefits us.
I mean, Sue was more dangerous throwing papers at John Silver. It's sad, and you're right. It's one of those things where it almost destroys the myth, where it like. But here's the thing: I'm sure guys that are younger than Sting are like, "How the heck does he do it?" Because Sting is out there still doing all this stuff. But with Ric Flair, I think it's time. I think it'd be cool to just kind of have him be a guest, to just kind of show up, but I think the stuff that he used to be able to do, it's done, and I think it just kind of takes away from it takes away from the legend. It's kind of like I remember watching WCW once when Hulk Hogan had just turned back to the good guy Hulk Hogan. He had quit the NWO, and some kid inspired him to dress back up as good guy Hulk Hogan. But he just wasn't the Hulk Hogan he used to be. And he came running to the ring and he was like hobbling. And one of the people that I was with at the time went, "Aw." And it was an unsolicited awe. But it was like unsolicited, but we all felt the same way. It was almost like we felt pity. Mm-hmm. And you don't want to ever feel pity for your heroes.
Right.
Or just necessarily whether he's a hero or not, like these legends, you don't want to ever feel pity for them,
You're absolutely right. I agree. It can be nostalgic, when Stone Cold came back to WrestleMania. I think he did an awesome job in the way they booked that match. But it's, of course, like I love Stone Cold. He's at my Mount Rushmore, and like I want to see him wrestle one more time. But at what cost? Like, is it worth it? And you walk a fine line of that. The age difference between those two guys is drastically different, but you know what I mean, retired or not. Let's just quickly talk about I'm going to pull up the Revolution card, and I know you've been
you don't want to talk about Jericho versus Aquafina Jr.?
Well, I wanted to preserve your energy as much as possible.
Yeah, right.
So that's why you're being such a trooper joining the show tonight to keep this train afloat. That's why I want to kind of make this a relatively condensed show, and then we'll preserve your energy for an awesome Revolution. So obviously this is the card so far, minus the Meat Madness match got switched to the 8-man scramble, so I don't have that up to date. But to me, one of the best top to bottom wrestling shows that we're gonna have at a pay-per-view. I mean, you look at the caliber of in-ring performers, very, very top level stuff. I mean, unfortunately, you don't have guys like Kenny Omega on there at the moment.
That says a lot about the talent. Is it without a?
But yeah, look at, you think of the talent that, I mean, like I mentioned earlier, Ospreay, Takeshita, I think is going to tear down the house. It's great to see the Young Bucks back in action and see how they're going to play that storyline. Just going to be a absolute doghouse of a fight, that tag match, FTR BCC, and the women's match. I've been loving the build for this. I think the chemistry and the feud there. I think this is going to be a very awesome home run match and really could go either way. And then the long-standing feud with Kingston and Danielson that's been really planted since. Really pushed and planted even more in the Continental Classic during that tournament. And then hopefully we'll see a title change with the Roderick Strong. And then we see some kind of dominant force, as I had with my Hollywood hot take last week with the Undisputed Kingdom. Moving forward, I think they need to have a home run pay-per-view, the UK, on this. So we'll see where it goes. And I don't know if we're going to have the reemergence of an injured Adam Copeland after that match of the TNT title, or if he's going to be off with an injury for a little bit, and then you kind of let Christian Cage cut a couple heel promos after week in and week out, and then finally you get the ultimate payoff. But I think that's the next feud or the next. You could, let's say, okay, so we'll be in March. Double or Nothing's usually in May. You could build it for May, a headline match with Christian versus Adam Copeland.
That'd be tremendous.
If you had to pick 2 matches you're most excited for.
Shoot, only 2. Well, here's the thing: the Meat Madness. I was excited because I had confirmation that it was going to be more than just those 3. Even though any of those 3 winning the Meat Madness match would have been tremendous. I mean, right. I think Murder Hawk needs to come back and be the monster that he is. But then I think also we need to build Wardlow back up as this maniac. And then, of course, we need Powerhouse Hobbs to just be the dominant guy he is. But my understanding is they were going to bring Miro and Keith Lee as surprise entrants in the Meat Madness. But
if you're going to do a Meat Madness, you need to have Brian Cage, too.
Yeah, I think Brian Cage in it would have been tremendous because we got to get that Brian Cage-Lance Archer matchup somehow. But they're switching it to the scramble. I think it's going to be interesting to see. I just wish there was some kind of stakes at it. Do you know if there's like the winner? Do they get some kind of?
The scramble said they get a title shot.
They do. Okay,
yes.
Then that's cool. Then this would be a good opportunity to maybe get Wardlow in the title shot mix. With Samoa Joe or whoever comes out winning. It's Samoa Joe. But that would be a good way to do that. I think you're right about Ospreay Takeshita from a match standpoint. From a story standpoint, the Sting match versus the Bucks can be good. But I think out of all of them, I really am looking forward to the 3-way. I'm looking forward to Hangman, Samoa Joe, Swerve. Although I think we're going to have world champion Swerve this year, I think Joe walks out champion at this point.
What do you, spoiler for your bingo card, who do you want to open the show and one of the more pivotal positions on a card?
Barring the buy-in stuff, which who knows, they'll probably wait till the last minute.
Buy-in aside, open the pay-per-view.
Buy-in aside, I think it'll be Dax, be FTR versus BCC, and I think that's a great way to open it because that's a good point. You didn't come to watch some golf. You came here to see some just brutality. I think that's what you start with, and then you have the scramble midway through, and then the last 3 match. I think the last 3 matches need to be. I think the last 3 matches need to be the top 3 at the top of the screen. Takeshita, Ospreay, then the World Championship, and then end with the Tag Team Championship with Sting.
Good grief! I wouldn't want to follow any of those.
Yeah, but I think you have that brutal FTR versus BCC to kick things off.
Yeah, that's a great point. I like that. I like that booking. I was gonna say at first Ospreay to start, but then it's like you set the tone so high, like you're almost. Or the other one would be Kingston versus Danielson.
Yeah, you don't want to have that high octane match to start. You want to have a brutal, like OMG match to start.
Yeah,
just to really get everybody going. Are they going to live? What happened? Is he dead? That kind of thing.
Right.
So we'll see.
Well, I didn't want to push you too hard. I appreciate you for jumping on. So we're going to wrap things up for Dynamite Download episode 116, but we're going to be back in 2 nights. We're going to be doing our preview show, AEW Revolution, breaking things down. We're going to have our most up-to-date live standings. This is post Dynamite. We still have Rampage and Collision matches to add to this. And then we're going to see what's going in, what's at stake for who can pull out on top for the Road to Revolution. And then we're going to start season 2 of the Dynamite Download draft, fantasy draft after Big Business. So if you're interested in joining, let us know in the chat, send us a DM, because we're going to be expanding to more teams for
Double or Nothing.
That's right. Leading up to Double or Nothing. Nothing.
Nothing. That's what we should call our draft, the Double or Nothing.
Double or Nothing. So I thank you guys for joining. Thank you, Mine, for battling it and getting through. Yeah. And so we appreciate you guys, and we'll see you on Saturday night is for fighting. Saturday night is for fighting at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to go live right after Collision. So we're going to, collect ourselves, pour a nice cold one, and then we'll go live right after Collision on here for our preview show. So
Saturday, nights all right.
Rest up.